I never imagined I'd be the one telling a story like this. One that feels so surreal it might belong to someone else, as if I'm just a spectator watching a tragedy unfold on a distant stage. Yet here I am, a 35-year-old man, sifting through the wreckage of a marriage I once believed was an unbreakable sanctuary. My wife, Clara, 33, and I shared 5 years of what I thought was a dependable, enduring partnership. We met through mutual friends, dated for 2 years, and built what felt like a solid, trustworthy bond. There were no dramatic gestures, no grand declarations, just a quiet, steady companionship. We communicated openly, or at least I believed we did. We nurtured each other's ambitions, dreamed of a future with children, and I was certain that what we had was unshakable. The only shadow over our relationship was Clara's past with Ethan, her college boyfriend. They'd been together 6 years, even briefly talked about marriage before things fell apart. Clara described him as emotionally distant, obsessed with his career, uninterested in starting a family. They parted ways, and she assured me that chapter was closed. Early on, she acknowledged Ethan was a significant part of her history, but insisted she had moved on. I trusted her completely. I chose to be the confident, trusting husband, not the insecure man tracking every step she took. Then, about 8 months ago, everything shifted. It was an ordinary Wednesday evening. I had just finished making dinner, grilled chicken with creamy mashed potatoes, Clara's favorite, and was waiting for her to come home from her nursing shift. Her job often kept her late, so her delay didn't immediately worry me. But when she finally walked in, her face was pale, her eyes distant. She sat me down, her voice heavy with urgency. "We need to talk." She told me Ethan had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He had only months left to live. No family, no close friends. He had reached out to her for support. "He's dying alone," she said, her voice trembling. "He's asked me to be there, just until it's over." I was stunned. Why her? Why now after all these years? She explained she had once been his anchor, the only person he truly relied on. When I asked what this meant for us, for our marriage, she reassured me. She insisted her love for me was real, and that this was a temporary act of compassion, not betrayal. "If you love me," she said, "you'll understand why I have to do this." Against every instinct screaming inside me, I agreed. I convinced myself it was a mature, selfless choice. I told myself she would come back, and our life would continue as before. But Clara was gone for 3 months. Our communication faded to a trickle of cold texts about Ethan's failing health and vague promises of calls that never came. I tried to be patient, but the silence swallowed me. Eventually, I stopped reaching out. To cope, I threw myself into work, the gym, and therapy, anything to fill the growing void. I kept telling myself everything would make sense once she returned. Then, without warning, she came back. She appeared at our doorstep, looking worn but strangely alive. Before I could process what I was seeing, she dropped the bombshell. "I'm pregnant." My mind raced, calculating timelines. Then she shattered my heart all over again. This child was Ethan's. She called it a mistake, a moment of grief-driven vulnerability. She insisted it didn't mean anything, as if words alone could erase the betrayal. She went further, suggesting we raise a baby together, that we could move past this and still build a future. "He's gone now," she said softly. "We can be a family." I was speechless. "You cheated on me," I finally said, my voice trembling. "You left our marriage to be with him. I let you go because I thought you were helping a dying man, and you slept with him." She insisted it wasn't intentional, that she was overwhelmed by grief and emotion. She swore she still loved me, that the baby didn't have to end us, that I could embrace the child as my own. But I couldn't accept it. I told her the responsibility was hers alone. I refused to raise the child of the man she chose over me, dying or not. I told her our marriage was over. 2 days later, I filed for divorce. I thought that would be the end, but Clara wouldn't let go. She showed up at my new apartment, begging for a chance to talk. She sent long, emotional emails pleading for reconciliation. She even visited my mother, visibly pregnant, trying to explain herself, in a heart-to-heart. She promised counseling, signed legal documents to absolve me of responsibility for the child. Anything to keep me in her life. I blocked her number, her emails, her social media. My lawyer sent cease and desist letters. I began documenting every interaction in case her persistence escalated. I was unraveling, feeling foolish for trusting her so completely, for believing her compassion for Ethan was innocent. Part of me felt guilty, though I couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the 5 years we shared, the memories of the woman she once was. Or maybe it was the crushing pain of watching my life fall apart, while she expected me to rebuild it on her terms. Then, a few weeks ago, Clara's sister, someone I'd always been cordial with but never close, texted me. "You're still family to some of us," she wrote. Her kindness was both touching and confusing. But then she dropped something infuriating. Clara had listed me as the father on the baby shower invitations. I was livid. I hadn't spoken to Clara in over a month, maintaining no contact except through lawyers. I forwarded the invitation to my attorney, who was equally stunned. He sent another cease and desist letter, warning that any further claims, public or private, that I was a father would lead to a restraining order and a defamation lawsuit. I didn't want to escalate things, but I was done being her doormat. Then Clara's mother called, a woman I hadn't spoken to in years. Her tone was awkward, almost apologetic. "This baby isn't about love," she said. "It's about Clara's guilt. She's trying to fix something broken inside her, not just with you, but from long before you met." Her words offered a rare clarity, but deepened my understanding of how twisted everything had become. Clara wasn't fighting to save our marriage. She was chasing absolution, using me as a prop in a redemption story. The divorce mediation was a final showdown. We sat in a sterile office, lawyers flanking us. Clara looked drained but clung to a flicker of hope. She apologized, admitting her selfishness and the pain she caused. Then she said, "I still believe we can start over. People raise children who aren't theirs every day. You loved me once. That love is still there." I let her words hang in the air before answering. "That love died the moment you crossed that line. I might forgive you someday, but there's no going back." I expected tears, but she just looked empty, as if she finally understood her fantasy was over. Now, the divorce is nearly finalized. No children, no shared property, no tangled ties. I've moved into a small apartment, my space, my sanctuary. Therapy is helping me piece myself back together, bit by bit. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that love doesn't fix broken people or erase their mistakes. It doesn't survive betrayal just because you wish it would. Clara was my partner, my confidant, my love. I would have done anything for her, until I realized she wasn't mine to save. She wanted forgiveness, not partnership. That burden is no longer mine to carry. I don't know what Clara's future holds, but I know what I want for mine: peace, boundaries, and self-respect. Maybe one day I'll find love again, the kind that never asks me to sacrifice my dignity. If there's one piece of advice I can offer, it's this. If your partner asks to step outside your marriage for closure or compassion, don't let them. Once they walk away, no matter the reason, they're already gone.